The secondary market is still red hot thanks to Ether Drift and the results of last week's Pro Tour. This video is sponsored by Flipside Gaming. Check out flipsidegaming.com for all your gaming needs. Right now you can pre-order Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy products or find a vast number of other great items on their website. Remember, shipping is free in the US if your order is over $100 or consists only of singles. Just look in the description or the comment section below for direct links to their site. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. Like I said in the cold open, Pro Tour Ether Drift led to some spikes this week, which was expected. Overall, though, that Eternal Might Commander deck may be the catalyst for the most card spikes this week. We'll get into all the details. As always, our lists are based on two pieces of criteria: the percentage change in the value of the cards, as well as the change in the number of sales from week to week. Before we get started, just a couple fast things. I do want to say thank you to a couple viewers who gave super thanks tips last week, Lord Pepsi and Todd Branch. Thank you both for your support for the channel. Those super thanks tips really do go a long way. I definitely couldn't do this without viewers like yourself. So thank you, Lord Pepsi and Todd. And I also want to thank one of our gold patrons, and that is WolfOfTinStreet Ban. Wolf, thank you for all your support on Patreon. It means the world. Truly, truly thank you for the support you've given the channel. And now, without any further ado, let's get into it. We'll begin with the top 10 coldest cards of the week. This time you're still going to see a couple Ether Drift cards moving down as packs are cracked, and many of the other cards are ones that recently spiked but are now trying to find their proper price point. Let's start off with number 10, Coercive Portal from Conspiracy. It goes down $1.22 this week to $6.77. That's a 15% decrease. Number 9, Sands of Time, down $1.36 to $7.63. That's also a 15% decrease. A week ago, this was number 19 on the hot list. Last week, it hit number 9, but this week, it premieres on the cold list at the 8th spot. It is Hull Breacher from Commander Legends, down $2.20 to $8.53. That's a 21% decrease. Last week, this came in at number 22 on our expanded hot list. This week, it's number 7 on the cold list. Masticore from Urza's Destiny, down $2.30 to $15.69. That's a 13% decrease. Number 6, Parallax Tide, down $3.38 to $19.99. That's a 14% decrease. Down one spot this week to number 5, Radiant Lotus, down $3.80 to $15.99. That's a 19% decrease. This one's down 2 spots this week to number 4, Ketchermos, The New Dawn, down $7.26 to $47.73. That's a 13% decrease. This card was number 7 on the hot list last week. This week it lands at number 3 on the cold list, Shallow Grave, down $9.68 to $59.49. That's a 14% decrease. Down one spot this week to number 2, Dockside Extortionist. The Double Masters 2022 copy is down $6.06 to $42.43. That's a 13% decrease. The Commander 2019 copy from the Mystic Intellect deck is down $7.93 to $34.41. That's a 19% decrease. And the one from the list is down $21.33 to $49.99. That's a 74% decrease. You might remember this was number 1 on the hot list last week. This week it's number 1 on the cold list. Tolarian Academy down $94.13 to $205.87. That's a 31% decrease. Like Hull Breacher and Darkside Extortionist, this is an example of a card that spiked recently due to speculation that was inspired by the Commander Brackets announcement a few weeks ago. You know what happens when cards spike aggressively though. Many times sellers try to take advantage of the hype by listing more copies, then those extra copies can cause the price to retract some. That's exactly what happened here. Alright, on to our top 20 hot cards this week, and yeah, it's another big week, so we do have a top 20 to look at. Number 20, Careful Study from Odyssey, up $2.16 to $5.15. That's a 72% increase. This Odyssey common is really jumping, and now the only other tournament legal printing of the card came in 2 limited release products. It was in Mystery Booster 2 and the Ghostbusters Animated Secret Lair. In Legacy, you see a copy or 2 of Careful Study in Lion's Eye Diamond Dredge. Over in 1v1 Dual Commander, it appears in Amanatu the Fate Shifter builds, but regular Commander and Pre-Modern are the formats that are really pushing this price. In Pre-Modern, Careful Study is found in Madness as well as Reanimator builds, and that format has been having a larger impact on card prices recently. When it comes to regular Commander, this is seeing more play now thanks to Ether Drift. Some players are grabbing it to upgrade the Eternal Might Commander deck, while others are adding it to fresh builds around Hashatan Scarab's Fist from there. Careful Study is also appearing in decks around a card from the main set, Captain Howler Sea Scourge. Number 19, Chandra Spark Hunter, up 220 to 720, that's a 44% increase. I have seen some trying this in Legacy Red Stompy, we'll have to see if that sticks. Standard though is the key driver this time. You see this card in the sideboard of the Jeskai Oculus deck, and that build has been fairly successful. In fact, one of those decks made it into the top 8 of Pro Tour Aether Drift last week. That particular build was running 3 copies of this in the sideboard. Chandra also appears in a few other standard decks, but we'll have to see if it can maintain a presence anywhere outside of Jeskai Oculus. Chandra Spark Hunter is also appearing in a few commander builds around other Aether Drift cards like Koladin Triumph Caster, Loot the Pathfinder, and Samut the Driving Force. Number 18, Tivit Seller of Secrets, up 240 to 569, that's a 73% increase. This is the foil copy from the Streets of New Capenna Obscura Operation Commander deck. Tivit is a fairly popular commander, and it has been in the 99 of some builds like Marnius Kalgar or Brea Ethereum Shaper, for example. Now though, many players are getting Tivit in order to upgrade the Aether Drift Eternal Might Commander deck, while others are putting in fresh builds around Hashatan Scarab's Fist from there. Tivit Seller of Secrets is also an Aminatou the Fate Shifter 1v1 dual commander decks, but Hashatan and Eternal Might are the key drivers for this price increase. Up one spot this week to number 17, Stinging Study, up $2.54 to $15, that's a 20% increase. This is from the Commander 2021 Silver Quill Statement deck. It sees a little commander play in a few different decks like Carrick Son of Yawgmoth, for example. It's also in Edgar Markov builds though, and those have been very popular since Edgar's recent reprinting and Innistrad Remastered. That build is the key driver for this price jump. Up 11 spots this week to number 16, Surly Badgersaur, up 289 to 982, that's a 42% increase. This is from the Commander 2020 Timeless Wisdom deck. The card has seen commander play here and there in a few different builds like Anya Falconwrath and Sauron the Dark Lord. However, now it's appearing in new commander decks around a card from Aether Drift. It is Captain Howler Sea Scourge, and this fairly popular new commander is causing Surly Badgersaur's price spike. Number 15, And They Shall Know, No Fear, up 292 to 1717, that's a 20% increase. This is from the Warhammer 40k Forces of the Imperium commander deck. It appears in a few commander builds like Giada Font of Hope and Najila the Blade Blossom, for example. But it also occasionally makes its way into Edgar Markov decks. Much like Stinging Study, the recently reprinted Edgar is pushing the price of this card. Number 14, Invasion of Tarkir, up $3.20 to $7.19, that's an 80% increase. This gets a tad bit of commander play, sometimes you see it in the Dragon builds, for example. However, dragons are going to be front and center in the upcoming Tarkir Dragonstorm set, and dragon speculation has begun, which is why this is moving up. Here are a few examples of dragon-centric cards that have already been previewed from Tarkir Dragonstorm. We have Sarkhan Dragon Ascendant, Stormscale Scion, Shiko Paragon of the Way, and Mox Jasper. Number 13, Likeness Looter, up $3.71 to $6.03, that's a 160% increase. This gets a little commander play. At times you may have seen it in builds around the Ancient One or Alila Cunning Conqueror. Now, however, this is getting more play in the format thanks to Aether Drift, and that's why the price is moving up. This is another good upgrade to Eternal Might, and it's also solid in fresh builds around Hashatan Scarab's Fist from there. To a lesser degree, I'm seeing Likeness Looter in decks around a card from the main set, Mimeoplasm Revered One. Number 12, stock up of $3.80 to $4.20. That's a 950% increase if you're doing the math at home. This Aether Drift Uncommon is seeing play in many decks in multiple formats. Even though there are a lot of copies in circulation right now, the demand is still pushing this price up. The standard format is the key driver for the jump though. Matt Nass won Pro Tour Aether Drift last weekend, and he was piloting a Domain Overlords build that had a copy of Stock Up in the sideboard. Since then, the card has been showing up in more and more Domain Overlords decks. You do see this in other standard builds too though, like Bat Control, Azorius Control, and Azorius Omniscience combo. Over in Modern, I'm seeing some putting this in Temur Grinding Station Breach. We'll have to keep an eye on that. It's also in Modern, Selective Oracle, and Storm. Meanwhile, in Legacy, Stock Up is appearing in Sneak and Show, Omnitel, Izzet Delver, and more. This gets vintage play as well. It's in Lurrus Paradoxical Outcome, Esper Tinker, Esper Saga, Grixis Lurrus Control, and more. And additionally, stock up has gotten a tad bit of commander play in Mendicant Core Guidelight builds. Coming in at number 11, Planar Void. It goes up $4.04 to $8.77. That's an 85% increase. This is another card moving mostly because of pre-modern. It's a useful sideboard card in the format, and it appears in decks like Pit Rack and Dead Guy Al. Planar Void is also sometimes found in Legacy Ninjas, and it has recently seen a little more commander play, occasionally appearing in Ketramos the New Dawn builds. Quickly before we get to our top 10, just a fast reminder, this video is sponsored by Flipside Gaming. Check out flipsidegaming.com for all your gaming needs. Right now you can pre-order Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy products there, but they also have a whole lot of other things on their website, Magic related and otherwise. Remember, if your order is over $100 or consists only of singles, shipping will be free in the United States. And if you're looking for a direct link to their site, just check out the description or the comment section below. I do have links posted in both of those places. And now without any further ado, let's get to the top 10. Backstreet's back, alright, up 10 spots this week to number 10, Shadowy Backstreet. It goes up 407 to 2093, that's a 24% increase. The Surveil lands are quite good and appear in numerous decks in multiple formats. This one is no exception. In Standard, it's in the very popular Domain Overlords deck. 3 of those builds made it to the top 8 of Pro Tour Ether Drift last week. The final was a showdown between 2 of them, and the other one came in 3rd place. 2 of those top 8 Domain Overlords builds ran 2 copies of this card. The winning one that Matt Nass was piloting ran 3. That alone may be the reason Shadowy Backstreet is jumping this week, but it's in lots of other decks too. Even in Standard, it appears in Esper Control, Orzhov Midrange, Orzhov Sacrifice, Abzan Midrange, and Orzhov Token Control. Over in Modern, this is in the highly played Orzhov Midrange Blink decks. It's also in Esper and Mardu Blink, plus you see it in Abzan Midrange, Mardu Energy, and sometimes Goryo's Vengeance. In Legacy, this appears in Orzhov Yorion Death and Taxes, as well as Orzhov Stoneblade. Additionally, it's used in several regular commander and 1v1 dual commander decks. As a matter of fact, Shadowy Backstreet is seeing more play there now thanks to new Ether Drift cards. It's in 1v1 dual and regular commander builds around Ketramos the New Dawn, plus Shadowy Backstreet is a good upgrade to the Eternal Might commander deck, and it's appearing in fresh builds around Hashatan Scarab's Fist from there. Number 9, Raffine Scheming Seer. It goes up 537 to 923, that's a 139% increase. This gets a little 1v1 dual commander play, but it's regular commander that is pushing the price right now. Raffine is a solid commander, but by now you probably guessed that Ether Drift has increased interest in this. It's another good upgrade to Eternal Might, and it's used in fresh builds around Hashatan Scarab's Fist and Temet Naktaman's Will from there. Number 8 is Soul Spike, up $5.64 to $30.25, that's a 23% increase. This one-print wonder was seeing a little modern play. Sometimes it would appear in Mono Black Midrange, for example, but now there is a new modern build running this card, and it's performing quite well out of the gate. The deck is an Orzhov Ketramos Necro Dominance build. Of course, it's running Ketramos the New Dawn from Ether Drift and typically 4 copies of Soul Spike. We'll have to see if the deck can cement a place in the meta, but so far it has been looking pretty solid. Number 7, the Enigma Jewel, up $6.26 to $8.72, that's a 254% increase. This has been a key part of the new standard artifact builds that have been using a lot of new Ether Drift cards. In recent weeks, we saw it in Grixis and Dimir versions, but at Pro Tour Ether Drift and Izzet version was getting a lot of attention. Even though the deck was a small part of the field and did not make it to the top 8, it did capture the imagination of many players, and over the last week many have been assembling the build. As a result, the Enigma Jewel jumps up. Some of the new cards that made the Izzet build possible include Memory Guardian, Repurposing Bay, Spectral Interference, Boom Mobile, and Radiant Lotus. A week ago, this was number 11. Last week, it was at the 10th spot. This week, it moves up 4 more spots to number 6. Astral Dragon, up 662 to 2660. That's a 33% increase. This is from the Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate Draconic Descent commander deck. Here's another card that was just seeing a little bit of play until recently. It would appear in Miram Sentinel Worm commander decks or Aminatu the Fate Shifter 1v1 dual commander builds, for example. But now, Ether Drift is pushing this card too. Some players want Astral Dragon to upgrade Eternal Might, while others are picking it up for fresh builds around Hashatan Scarab's Fist from there. Astral Dragon is also a solid dragon, so keep an eye on it as more Tarkir Dragonstorm previews are revealed. That set may already be influencing the price of the card to some degree as well. Number 5, Graveborn Muse. The copy from the list goes up 468 to 1526. That's a 44% increase. The 10th edition copy up 471 to 1343. That's a 54% increase. And the Legion's copy goes up 679 to 1654. That's a 70% increase. This appears in a few different Commander Zombie builds, including ones around the recently reprinted Gisa and Giralf, as well as the Scarab God. You also see it in Gisa the Hellraiser and Zul Ashur Lichlord decks, but by now I bet you can guess what's going on here. Yup, Graveborn Muse is a good upgrade to the Eternal Might Commander deck, and it's in fresh builds around the front-facing commander from there, Temmet Noctamon's Will. 2 weeks ago, this was number 20 on the hot list. A week ago, it climbed to the 6th spot. Last week, it dropped 8 spots to 14, but this week, it bounces back up 10 spots to number 4. It is Horde Wing Scab up 1056 to 2999. That's a 54% increase. This is from the Innistrad Midnight Hunt Undead Unleashed Commander deck. It has been a popular card for Commander Zombie builds, appearing in a few different decks. One of which is Wilhelt the Rock Cleaver, the front-facing commander from its precon. It's also in builds around recently reprinted cards like the Scarab God and Grimgrin Corpseborn. This appears in Verena Lich Queen too, but the main reason Hordewing Scab's price is jumping now is because it's a good upgrade to, you guessed it, the Eternal Might Commander deck. Players and speculators have been scrambling for potential upgrades for the build, and this is one of the cards they locked on to pretty early. It's also new builds around both Temmet Noctamon's Will and Hashatan Scarab's Fist from there. Up 13 spots this week to number 3, Dropkick Bomber. The Magic Foundation's Jumpstart copy goes up $9.14 to $16. That's a 133% increase. The Magic Foundation's copy goes up $13.03 to $19.85. That's a 191% increase. Now, part of the reason that this card has been jumping is due to the fact that the Foundation's printing can only be found in the beginner's box. You only get one copy there. Plus, the Magic Foundation's Jumpstart copy only appears in 2 different Goblin-themed packs. When it comes to gameplay, Dropkick Bomber is used in Krenko Mob Boss Commander builds, and that card was just reprinted in Magic Foundations. I've also seen some trying it in standard aggro decks alongside Hell Squad Heavy and some other cards from Aether Drift. Other players have even attempted to use Dropkick Bomber and Legacy Goblins in 1v1 dual commander builds. Perhaps some are speculating on this card since Goblins are on Tarkir, and no doubt we'll be seeing Goblins in Tarkir Dragonstorm to some degree. The only thing we know right now for sure, though, is that one of the Elite's commander cards, Nurav Crackling Vanguard, creates 2/1/1 red goblin tokens when it enters, although I'm sure there's more synergy for goblins coming. At the end of the day, scarcity is driving the price here more than demand, but I could definitely see the demand on this card increasing with additional goblin support that could very well be on the way. Coming in at number 2 for the second week in a row, Goblin Lore. The list copy goes up $4.59 to $11.21. That's a 69% increase. The Jumpstart copy up $8.63 to $14.95. That's a 137% increase. The 10th edition one is up $10.19 to $13.49. That's a 309% increase. And the starter 1999 copy goes up $13.26 to $21.24. That's a 166% increase. However, the Portal Second Age one is down $32.50 to $42.49. That is a 43% decrease. You might remember last week that the prices for these variations were very inconsistent. This week they pull closer together. The Portal Second Age version was way too inflated since it is harder to find, and not many copies were for sale then. It is somewhat inflated, even though it does normalize a bit this week. Anyway, the format behind the spike is modern. There's a new version of the Hollow One deck performing very well in the format thanks to the arrival of a new card from Aether Drift. The build includes 4 copies of Maraudering Mako, and of course 4 copies of Goblin Lore. We'll have to see how the deck performs going forward as the meta prepares for it, but right now it's doing very well. And finally, coming in at number 1 is Sickening Shoal, up $30.44 to $44.20. That's a 221% increase. This is a 4 of in the sideboard of Vintage Dredge, but now the modern format is making this one print wonder spike. It's typically a 2 of in the main of that Orzhov Ketchermos the New Dawn Necro Dominance build I mentioned earlier. The deck is performing well right now, but we will have to see if it can still put up good results when players are more prepared for it. Alright, that's going to do it for this episode of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. Quite a week. Can't wait to see what happens. There's so many previews coming out now. A lot of sets on the horizon. There's going to be some big changes in the market, no doubt. Later this week, we're going to be back with a Commander deck tech. I've already been working on the build, and I'm very excited for this one. A little simpler than some of the builds we did before. Maybe a good deck to introduce somebody to Commander with. You'll definitely want to stay tuned for that. But until next time, hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like and subscribe. And have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon and have a great day.